All right, 6th grade lesson 1.6, we are adding and subtracting decimals. Well, we use decimals all the time. You use decimals all the time. And maybe you don't think so, but money, you use money. Money is almost always written in decimal form. Look at the pictures of my money. I'm such an artist. I know. So here I have $1 and 25, 35, 41 cents. So we write that as a decimal, $1 and 41 cents. 4 dimes worth or 4/10ths place worth, and 1 penny's worth, 1/100th place worth. So if you always think of decimals in terms of money, it makes it a whole lot easier to do the math with it, because you have been doing the math with money for a long time. It is important when we add or subtract money, also known as decimals, or anytime you add or subtract any decimal number, that we line up the place values, because you're not going to add a penny to a quarter, they're in different spots, or a penny to a dime, they're in different spots. So if you line up a penny with a dime, you're not going to get the right piece of information. Pennies get lined up with pennies. Hundredths place get lined up with hundredths place. Dimes get lined up with dimes. Tenths place with tenths place. Dollar bills get lined up in the ones place, right? So it's important that we always remember we must line them up for adding and subtracting decimals. So let's look at some examples to practice. All right, so here I have 2.358 plus 1.08. So in order to add those, I just want to make sure that I line things up properly. So I have a ones place and a ones place, so I'm going to put them one above the other. I have a decimal and a decimal. Then here I have a 3, and the tenths place on this guy is the 0. The hundredths place is a 5, and the hundredths place over here is the 8. Oopsie, 8. This guy has a thousandths place value, but this guy doesn't. No worries, just go ahead and put that guy down. And if you want them to have matching lineup spots, we can just go ahead and put a 0 there if that makes you feel better. And then I will add like normal. The decimals stay lined up, so there they go. Before I add like normal though, I generally like to kind of check to see what my answer should be by estimating. This is $2.35-ish cents. I'm just going to call it $2, and this is about $1.08, so I'm just going to call it $1. So $2 and $1 is about $3. So I'm thinking my answer should be somewhere around $3. I just round it to the nearest whole dollar, just to get an idea, because if I add this all up and then I get like 28, I would be looking at this going, wait, what? That's not right. So I just always take a quick glance at what something near where my answer should be, so that if I make a mistake, I catch it. All right, so I'll go ahead and add like normal, like we always do from here on out. 8 plus 0 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13, carry over. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 0 is 4. And 2 plus 1 is 3. Your answer is 3.438, which is 3-ish, so I'm good. Let's look at another one. This one is 5 minus 1.836. Wait, what? This doesn't even have a decimal. What? Ms. Sanchez, what are you doing? Don't worry. Think of it like $5. $5 is the same as $5 and 00 cents, right? Can't I just write that as $5 and 00 cents? So like every whole number technically does have a decimal. If you don't see it, it's just because it's kind of hiding here in the shadows, so which is perfectly fine. So when I line this up, this is 5 and 000. The reason I went 3 zeros is because I see this guy has 3 decimals, and I thought, well, I want to have 3 spaces. It helps my brain. So then I'm going to go ahead and line up the 1.836. My decimals are nice and lined up. My ones places are nice and lined up, and that's what I needed to do. Otherwise, I'd be adding pennies to dollars, or half a penny to dollar, or subtracting it. Mrs. Sanchez, we're subtracting. Okay. Again, I do usually kind of just do a glance at an estimate, 5 is 5 rounded. 1.8 would be close to 2. So I'm looking for another 3-ish answer when I subtract. Oh, and surprise, surprise, this one does a nice test of our borrowing because we can't do 0 minus 6. You can't take 6 from me if I have nothing, right? So we'll do the borrowing, but he's going to have to borrow from him, and he's going to have to borrow from him all the way across. So let's go ahead and just do that all in one shot. That gets borrowed, and that becomes a 10. But he gets borrowed from, so he becomes a 9 and he becomes a 10. But that gets borrowed from and he becomes a 9 and he becomes a 10. Just a spillover all the way across. No worries, we got it. So now we are 10 minus 6, which is 4. 9 minus 3, which is 6. 9 minus 8, which is 1. Decimal comes straight down. And 4 minus 1, which is 3. My answer is 3.164. Also 3-ish, right? So we're rounding. We were close, right? So that's good news. The final part of this just really kind of reminds us how to use order of operations, or the basic level of order of operations. So quick reminder, PEMDAS is kind of the thing that all of us sort of memorize. P stands for parentheses, so you do everything within the parentheses first. If there is an operation inside of the parentheses, then you clear all exponents. Those are the ones that look like that, something to the second power, like 4 to the second power or 5 to the fourth power or something like that, are exponents. So you would clear all of those operations, and then once all of those clear, this is where people get confused a little bit, but I write it this way instead to clarify. You multiply or divide whichever comes first as you read from left to right. So it's not multiply before divide, it is multiply and divide at the same time, whichever comes first as you read from left to right. Same, once that's all cleared, any add or subtract operations that are left, you add or subtract whichever comes first from left to right. So you always see me putting these arrows there when I talk about order of operations. I put multiply and divide on the same line with an arrow, add and subtract on the same line with an arrow, because add doesn't always come before subtract. It's whichever shows up first between those two operations as you go from left to right. So just that quick reminder on order of operations. And so now let's look at an add with decimals, add subtract with decimals problem in the form of more than one operation. So if there is more than one operation, there's a subtract and there's an add. If there's more than one operation, then we have to follow the order of operations in order to get it right. So here in this set of operations, we have parentheses, and there's an operation within the parentheses. So that is the first thing that has to clear. So we're going to do 6.5 minus 1.97. Remember, line everything up properly. Your ones places need to line up with your ones places. Tenths places line up with tenths places. Hundredths place doesn't have a match, so we can make a match. We're going to need to make a match because we need to do some borrowing here. All right, now I just subtract like I normally would. 0 minus 7 can't work. I need to go regroup, borrow from my friend over here. Thank you very much. 10 minus 7 is 3. 4 minus 9, if I have 4 and you need to take 9 from me, it is not going to happen. I need to do that regroup. It's fine to just do that straight across the decimal like normal. We don't have to worry about it. 14 minus 9 is 5 is right. Very good. And then 5 minus 1 is 4 is right. Very good. And so that leaves me with that operation being cleared. But remember, I have still this operation to take care of. So I'll do that next. Now there's just one operation left. All my parentheses are cleared. All exponents were cleared. There weren't any in the first place. All multiplication and division is cleared. There wasn't any in the first place. So now I'm on the add and subtract. So let's go ahead and line those up. Line them up. 4.53 plus 3.461. And I was very careful for adding and subtracting to line up my decimals, line up my ones place, line up my tenths place, line up my hundredths place, line up my thousandths place. And since there isn't one here, I can add one there. And this one I don't really need to, but I'm going to just because I like things to be nice and neat. This is 0 plus 1, 1. 3 plus 6 is 9. 5 plus 4 is also 9. Decimal comes straight down. 4 plus 3 is 7. And I did forget to estimate on these, but let's do that real quick. 6.5 is going to be close to 7-ish. I'll do this in orange, 7-ish. 1.97 is almost 2-ish. And 7 minus 2 is 5-ish. So I ended up with a 4.5, which is very close to 5. And if I were to estimate over here, 4.5-ish would be, 4.5 is like 4.5, right? So 4.5-ish, I'll round that to 5-ish. And 3.4, it's a little less than 3.5, so I'll just call it 2-ish. And 5 plus 2 is 7-ish. And I did get an answer that was 7-ish, 7.9, 7 between 7 and 8. So I'm close, right? So my answers were reasonable. And it's just a good habit to be in, to know, like, my answer should be close to this-ish. And then if I had gone through and put my decimal in the wrong spot and called this 45.3, and I thought, wait, my answer was supposed to be like 5-ish, not 45-ish, that's way off, then you're catching mistakes. And that's a really important skill to be able to do. So that's why I go and kind of round things off when I can.